Hey y'all, what's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. KG is back, and we're back the day after the victory versus Cardiff City. Seems like a lot of people are happy with the win, but felt there could have been more. And I'll go through some of my reasons why I think so too. But I'm still happy with the 3 points, of course, and we move along. But there's a few talking points from yesterday, especially from comments that I got from my Instagram DMs as well. And we're going to speak about those today, plus Daniel Farkes' comments, in which I am going to defend him with something he said today. So listen out for that one. Before we get into it, like the video, subscribe to the channel, of course, drop your thoughts and comments below. Thank you, as always, to Parent House, who delivered a super thanks on the last video. Much appreciated, as always. He's also a member of the channel. If you want to become a member of the channel, the link is in the description. So, people, we won the game yesterday. Really good, clean sheet yet again. In terms of that, and look, you know, LUFC Data has been putting out some of the stats and everything in terms of that. Leeds have started a league campaign with 3 consecutive away clean sheets for the first time since 1970-71 under Dom Revy, which is obviously a very long time ago. In terms of that, though, you know, there was these kind of stats last season in terms of us breaking records at home and everything else like that. But it's about, of course, it's always about the end result. And that's what it all comes down to. And listen, somebody asked me uh, in terms of what I said yesterday, and it's a fair comment, because I said yesterday it's about getting the results, not so much about the performances. Or they said I've said that before when it comes to Leeds United. But I point out, I always say that kind of stuff when we're like 30 games in. So when we was nearly getting relegated in the Prem, I would have said it then. And towards the end of last season, I would have said it doesn't matter how the performances go; they weren't very good. Just get the results. But when you're early on in the season, you have to lay the marker down with good performances, because that gets you on a consistent run. See, when you play in a way where you're not creating too much, or you're missing loads of chances early in the season, it's not sustainable to keep getting victories that early on. But when it comes to the end of the season, it's about grinding it out. But we don't need to grind it out, especially with the talent that we have on show. So I just want to clarify that point. Yes, I've said it before, it's about results, but early on, when you're only like less than 10 games in the season, you do have to have performances to go with it. And listen, shout out to everyone, man. Morning to everyone in the chat. Chris saying here, we just want management team that can make the most out of the talent we have. Yeah, we do, of course. And listen, Tom, we're all fickle fans, KG. As long as Bamford ain't playing, I'm okay with Peru. We're gonna speak about that. You did say, I think you did say, KG, that Peru will have a breakout season. Yeah. Listen, I've always said, and I'm not gonna go back against it now. When I did the transfer rating video, because of the high earner that we have, that we either don't want to shift or doesn't want to go, you're going to have to contend with Joseph and Peru being your front two. And I'm more than fine with that. Absolutely fine. Of course, you would like another striker there, but you have to be realistic. You're not going to have 3 strikers, then add a 4th one. It's just not going to happen. But I'm happy with Peru and Joseph at this level. And I'm going to give you the pros and cons for both. I'll give you for both. Yeah, listen, shout out to you, Liam. Morning to you. Hey, first of all, before we get into the lead stuff, I need to show you something that just shows the game is gone, people. You know how you always hear that the game is gone? This shows you the game is gone. Look at this from Stoke. I mean, we've gotten beat by a long margin, but look at this. Corners taken for Stoke since March 2024. No goals from corners. I mean, what's happened to the beautiful game I love? You know, what's happened here? Stoke not getting something from set pieces. Never thought I'd see the day, people. Never thought I'd see this day. Woke nonsense. But you know, it's one of those. Stoke, you got to right these wrongs, man. Get the lap back in there or something. Do something. But yeah. Anto here saying, morning, KG. Said I already? Okay, I think you mean already. I already said, right? Yep, 3 points, great, but against 10 players at the bottom of the league, team does not bode well for the future. And Michael here saying, my eyes aren't fooled with stats. It's a completely different take if we already win 1-0. And Michael, I'm glad you say that. Yeah. Nidar saying, bring back Pulis. Yeah, they got to restore the feeling, man. You can't have this with Stoke City, man. That's too much. But look, Daniel Farkes said a few things after the game yesterday. Danny Farkes, he did say he loved how dominant we were in the game. But the attackers need to be a bit more like Peru, who he describes as the best finisher in the league. Uses the analogy of a door-to-door salesman, keep knocking on the door, and he vows to work on the team's conversion rate, which I love to hear. And what he meant by the salesman thing was about a Hoover seller, where you have to ring 40 houses in the hope of getting 1 sale. So he means the more chances you create, the more options and chances you do to run the score up, which I do agree with. And the good thing about that is that he's saying that he wants to work on that and he's going to be working on it in training. That is music to my ears. I also love what he did yesterday on the touchline. Never see him animated, never see him really shouting at people, but he was getting into it. He was getting frustrated, which is, again, another good sign. Another thing he did mention as well, which hasn't come up in any of the comments, was about the lack of instinct from the players to follow up on the Shoutouts missed penalty. He was talking about them being like young. I can't even remember the word he said. But he was talking about them not being hungry enough. It looks like they were ready just to go and celebrate instead of being ready just in case something happens. That's something else. And I'm sure with him mentioning it publicly, which he doesn't usually do, that they will be working on that in training, making sure that you're following up. If it goes in, then you concentrate on the celebration. But if not, be ready for the rebound. And I completely get that. One thing I will say, in terms of what he said in this, because he's been getting a lot of stick for this, saying that Peru is the best finisher in the league, but then people are saying, okay, so why isn't he starting? Why isn't he getting regular game time? If he's that good, why are you only giving him 5 minutes? But I liken this to so many examples. They're littered in history. Like Wan-Bissaka at Man United, easily the best 1v1 defender, but he wouldn't get regular starts because his overall game wouldn't suit the manager. Another one, James Ward-Prowse, set piece extraordinaire, but his general game isn't that great, which West Ham found, and why he's now finds himself at Nottingham Forest, because apart from the set pieces, there's not else a lot to his game. And even the Southampton fans I spoke to, where he's revered down there, will say, yeah, he's got set pieces, but there isn't that much else to his game. So if you're looking for that kind of strength, then you have him on the pitch. If not, it could also be, there's many examples, man, where someone is just so good at one thing, but then their overall game doesn't suit the manager. And this is where I go with this. Peru may be the best finisher at the club, and I do agree with that, by the way. But if you're not getting what you want from him, I'm speaking as Danny Farkes here, then it's hard to then give him the game time that his talent probably deserves. But what I will say is that there's a trait people are now saying, and I find it very funny. I was looking at the comments, and because I can see people's previous comments when they've left them, people that have been calling for Peru to be out the door and he's no good, he's rubbish, and this and that, and now all of a sudden calling for him to start. Football's a great sport, isn't it? Football is a great sport. Nida, this is the best thing. This is the easiest thing for me. This is the simple thing for me. Two defensive midfielder isn't helping Joseph, and we're going to speak about that, but it's not helping the team. Never mind just Joseph. For me, there's just no need. But we know with this manager, if we aren't going to play Tanaka and Ampadu versus Cardiff City, and you saw what Cardiff were about yesterday, people. If we're not going to see it in that, I don't know when we're going to see it. I've already said I think we may see it in games where we're finally on that Saturday, Tuesday run and we need to rotate. But if we're not going to see it against a team like Cardiff, I don't know when we're going to see it. So for me, the solution is simple. I would go with two up top and put Ampadu and Tanaka in there, or Ampadu and Ruffwell. But it's easy for me to say that, I'm not the manager, because I still feel that with Brendan Aronson on the pitch, you're going to get that. You're going to get the press in from the front. He will get back to help. So does Nanto as well, by the way. It's not like we're just going to leave a big old hole there and we're going to be exposed. There are players in our attack that do the two-way game. So I think there's very little risk, especially when you're playing the teams. And listen, people, I watched the highlights for the most of yesterday's games in the championship. This league is trash, like super trash. So when we've got the team we have and we've got the possession that we will have in the game, I'd think it would be a good thing to let go of one. And this isn't nothing against Gruev, but he's not a progressive 8. That's not his game. Gruev's game is interceptions, laying it off to the better players, recovery tackles, recovering the ball. That's his game. Being an advanced 8, it doesn't suit him. And he's trying his best. He's trying to get shots off, but he's not a shooter. Yeah. Richard saying, I think he has to be held responsible for his coping if we don't go up with his best keeper and his best double pivot, Cheerio Daniel. Well, look, at this point in time, people, we are in a good spot. It's not where I think we should be. I think that we should be doing better. I think that some of the results should have been better, but we're not doing too badly. What I would say, and I do think call me crazy, but I do think that when we do finally get to that Saturday, Tuesday momentum where we got a couple games in a row, maybe 3 games a week, I think we'll get even better. I think it just gives the team more time to gel. There's more time to work on things, more match practice. That's what we need in terms of this team. I think that going back to 2 games a week will help this squad. But obviously, we need to see them all get minutes. That's a thing, isn't it? Nidar saying Gruev plays well, but probably at the expense of the team. Yeah, it's not like Gruev is playing badly. Let me make that clear. But you can see that if you had a Tanaka or Ruffwell in there as a central midfielder, maybe even a Charlie Crew, who we saw in preseason likes to look forward as well, it just gives you that extra dynamic, and it gives you that extra pass where maybe Gruev takes 2-3 touches to get it out his feet. The other players are looking forward, putting diags, putting through balls in. And this is where I want to go in for this whole Peru Joseph thing. Let me just get this up here. Let me get that off. Okay, Matteo Joseph. First of all, let me enlarge this a little bit better. Here we go. Here we go. At this point in time, people, Matteo Joseph has 4 goal involvements in 6 games, 1 goal, 3 assists. And yesterday, there's people calling now for Joseph to go out for Peru to come in. But what it is with Matteo Joseph is, you see the ball that he played through for Ramazani. By the way, great for Ramazani to get off the mark. Be interested to see if he does that celebration again. Danny Farkes did say about, I'd be worried about my ACL if I did that celebration. We'll see if he does that again. But in terms of Joseph, his overall game is good. But the thing is with Joseph as well, he's not getting those through balls. And listen, if you're going to say about him getting that one against Burnley and he missed, and you're going to base it off that, well, I have a bus to order for you. All right. I've got a bus to order for you, and it will be on the way. But Joseph yesterday, he's probably thinking that ball he played to Ramazani, where he's dropped back deep to put it through down the middle for Ramazani. He's thinking, you know what? I wouldn't mind a few of those. I wouldn't mind a few more of those per game, because what you're not seeing with Joseph, and this always happens when moves don't come off or you can't see the full picture, is that he's making runs. He's trying to make runs off the shoulder because he knows he's quick enough, but the ball isn't being delivered quick enough for him. And another thing as well is that a lot of our attacks were down the left, but you saw when Bogle had the ball on the right-hand side, he was dangerous when he was putting those balls in the box, across the 6-yard box, and getting those crosses in. I think we need to utilize more of the pitch more. I think it goes down the left a little bit too much, like we had with Somerville. If we just vary it up a bit, mix it up a little bit more, I think we would get more joy, because it doesn't get predictable through the game as well. Keenan saying here, Matteo needs service, Cage, needs service. Yeah, he does. Richard saying, why are the lads refusing to pass to Bogle? Yeah, I don't know if it's that, Richard, but that's the point I'm trying to make. It's something I noticed yesterday when with Bogle yesterday that was what you're going to get from Jadon. That's the best of him in terms of him looking more like a right midfielder, getting into the box, getting those balls in across the box, trying to pick people out. That's his strength. And I don't think we utilized it enough, where we could have utilized it way more, because every time he got the ball, I thought, whoa, something's going to happen here, but it wasn't enough. And that's what I'm saying with Joseph. He's got 1 goal, people, but the supply isn't there. But what you're getting with Joseph, you're going to get the front pressing. You will get him dropping back in to try and, start a move, create a move, and then he will move into the box to try and get on the end of it if the ball comes. With Joel Peru, these are his stats line at the minute. He's got 6 matches, and a lot of these appearances are off the bench, which I'm going to highlight in a minute. But he's got 3 goal involvements in 6, and he's not getting a lot of time. So people will then say Joel Peru should be starting. But what you're getting, though, people, if you're doing 1, like I said before, I would play 2. I would play both of them up front. I think we could have a good partnership with Peru and Joseph, but we know that's not going to happen. So if you take Joseph out and put Peru in, you're going to get a lot of people unhappy again, because this is what happens when people forget. Joel Peru's game isn't pressing. That isn't it. He looks awkward. It doesn't work for him. What you do with Joel Peru is you put that ball at his feet where he's running in on it, and he can shoot. That is his game. He's not going to hold it up very well. His hold up game is okay, and it can't be any better than okay. I can't rate it better than that. But what you're getting with Joel Peru is you're going to get a technical footballer who can try and play people through if the ball's at his feet. But if you're looking for him to do all that running around stuff with no purpose, that's not what you're going to get. And that will take a bit out of Daniel Farkes, the way Daniel Farkes likes to play, because he likes that, doesn't he? He likes people running about up front. So Tom here saying super sub. Well, this is it, and this is from LUFC data, and it's one of these things. where if it's working, do you try and fix it? If it's not broken, don't fix it, kind of thing. Joel Peru has now scored 4 of his 7 goals for Leeds in 2024 after the 75th minute of matches as a substitute, looking like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out there at this rate. But it's one of those things, isn't it? If it's currently working, why fix it? But at the same time as well, I always look at players and speaking to players. If he's doing this, if he's making that kind of impact, he will expect to start at some point. He absolutely will. £60 million man on good wages, scoring goals, he will expect to start at some point. And I'm cool with it. Look, whether you want Joseph in or Peruvian, that's fine. I said at the start of the season, I don't expect Matteo Joseph to start 46 games. I don't. There's going to be times where he will need to be taken out at some point just for rest purposes or whatever. Maybe he goes off form, but he's currently in form. He had an assist yesterday, and also another person as well, Brendan Aronson. He got a lot of stick yesterday, but I thought I was right with that one yesterday. I thought Brendan played okay, and he did actually set up the goal for Joel Peru. So again, I don't know what it is that you guys are expecting from Brendan Aronson, whether you want him to try and be a dominant player in the middle of the park or from the right. That's not Brendan's game. He's going to get you in moments, and he's done it again. Brendan Aronson's numbers, I'm sure, are pretty decent for the games he's played. So I thought Aronson played fine, but if you didn't, that's more than fine. I'm just asking, what is it that you're expecting from Brendan Aronson? But yeah. Michael is saying Peru, he might need Brendan buzzing around him to work. Brendan playing a bit higher and central than usual could work. Jim saying exactly Peru and Aronson, and we cook. Yeah. Gavin here saying Peru will want away in January if he's sub week in, week out, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know if he'd want out, but I mean, there's always that possibility, Gavin. Of course there is. If you're not getting the football you feel you deserve and you are putting up numbers, then I understand it. But I do think he would stay for the season. But he would be right to knock on the door and say, well, Daniel, I've come on again. I've scored again. When am I going to get my opportunity to show you from the start that I can replicate this in 90 minutes? So I do understand that. But at this point in time, the role is working. And if you're not going to play the two, you are going to miss something with Joseph being out. But you also get the best finisher in the league, or one of the best finishers in the league, I should say, in Joel Peru. But you're also going to, miss out a lot of other things that Danny Farkes likes to see from his front man. So it's one of those things, isn't it? It's tricky, but I'll be very interested. I'm very interested to get your thoughts in the comments of what you would do with all the information I've just given you there, and what you believe as well, just from what you believe too. So there we are. Nidar, in terms of Aronson, he's saying, they are saying, because I don't know what you are, Nidar. Aronson, just hold on to the ball more, still giving it away far too cheap for me. Yeah. I mean, I understand that, but again, he's not Yaya Toure, is he? You know what I mean? He's not that kind of player. I know what people are saying in terms of him being a bit lightweight, but I think he's even improved that. The other week, I mean, he did get pushed over, but people saying he fell over, but I mean, he literally got pushed over while he was in mid-flight running. But look, with Brendan Aronson, what I expect from Brendan, and this is just from me personally, people, is I expect him to invade spaces. I think he presses well all over the park. He will pop up in those spaces to get a goal, to get an assist. Will he be dominant for 90 minutes? No, I don't, but I don't expect that from him. So I've been happy with what I've seen from Brendan so far, and I do think there's more to come. I do. But yeah, listen, people, in terms of that, it's an interesting one, isn't it? But one thing that we do have to I need to highlight yet again is this, and this is where I can't defend Farkes because it's something that tripped us up last year. I mentioned it yesterday, but this can't run. This can't run all season again. We can't do this again where players are getting 5 minutes. And if there wasn't 8 added minutes yesterday, then Tanaka's on for like 4 minutes a game. Peru, it will go down as a great sub. He comes on 3 minutes later, he scores. I got it. But the timing of these, the lack of match fitness that these players will have is a concern for me. And I also go to the thing as well, what a lot of people don't speak about is the confidence in players. So when Rothwell comes on at 90 minutes, if he doesn't complete his passes, if he doesn't make an impact, he's probably thinking, damn, I'm nowhere near a start for the next game. I'm probably nowhere near 20 minutes in the next game. I haven't done enough in the few minutes I've got. I've seen it before. The one instance it sticks out in my head was Callum Hudson-Odoi under Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea. I could see straight away with him that there was little rope that he had with that manager. And it was like, if he didn't impress, he knew he wasn't going to start the next game. And that was the case with Hudson-Odoi and Tuchel at Chelsea. You see it with players. It happens all over the place, but that is the one that just sticks out in my head. That's just so obvious. You need to give the players confidence. And if you're not going to give them alternate starts where another player could do with a rest or something like that, or they're slightly off form, then you've got to give them at least 20 minutes to make an impact. And that game yesterday in particular, speaking of that game, it needed someone to come on to make an impact, just to put that second goal in, put the game away, and then we possibly go on and score one or two more. I mean, Martin, I mean, that would be something if Rothwell got recalled by Spurs, considering he's at Bournemouth. But I hear you, though. I hear you. Oh, Jim here. Example, Aaron, some people standards are extra high for players they don't like. That's fair, Jim. That's probably fair. That's probably fair. And Jim also follows up. It's ridiculous how late he brings on subs. Yeah, but look, for me, it's not about substitutes for substitutes' sake. We didn't need them against Hull City when we was just in complete control of that game. But in games like the Burnley game or this one against Cardiff, where Cardiff, I mean, we literally were one counter-attack away from going back to 1-1, and how disastrous would that have been? But in these kind of games where you can see, okay, let's get on someone a bit more progressive. Let's get on Schmidt, who's a more attacking fullback. Let's give him enough time. Give Tanaka 20 minutes today and take Gurev off. You can do it, but he's still doing the same things as last season. And I just hope that he doesn't trip us up. The whole Bamford thing being on the bench as well, I think that was just Martin saying half asleep. I got you, Martin. I think the whole Bamford thing, maybe that was just for him being back within the team in the team setting, because if there was a game where you were looking for a striker that is unfit, bereft of confidence, and just not very good to get a goal, it would have been yesterday against 10-man Cardiff. You know, you would have thrown him on and said, go on, Pat, go and get a goal and everything else like that. So I don't think the Bamford thing was ever going to happen, because if it was, it would have happened yesterday. But I think it was probably more just something just to get Patrick Bamford back involved in the match day squad. That's what it looks like to me anyway. In terms of that, okay, yeah, Malk here saying 2 DMs don't work for attack. Someone who can hit like Rafael running at them draws players, which moves others to equal spaces. Malk, yeah, it's something a lot of us say, Malk. But the thing is, it's like I've always said, if we keep on going on about this, we just look like we're crazy. You know, you go until you're blue in the face talking about this. I completely agree with you 100% on this. It's overkill, two DMs, especially against a Cardiff. I've said I understand against teams like Burnley, Sheffield United, but not against Cardiff City, man. That's the thing for me. If you're not going to test it, then when are you going to test it out? And that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, Drill here saying Peru 2 goals, 1 assist in the EFL in 132 minutes of game time. Mental, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a good conversation to have. Listen, you're always going to get the people that think Joel Peru is rubbish and they throw out the lazy word. He's not a lazy player. He just doesn't do all that, you know, headless chicken running about, which he doesn't have to do. He's a technical, silky footballer. You know what I mean? He doesn't need to do all that stuff, or that's not his game, I should say. You know, it doesn't hurt for anyone to do a little bit of running, but that's not his game. So asking him to do it, it just looks awkward to me. And yeah. Gavin here saying Gurev can't hit a barn door. We want to see Tanaka. Yeah, and it's not Gurev's fault. I want to make sure I make this clear. It's not on Gurev to be that 8 that we're looking for. He's being asked to do that. He's being given license to do that in games. But you can see when he shoots, it's not a natural thing for him. It takes him like an extra half second, which allows a defender to get back into position to get the ball out of his feet. That's not him. Whereas Rothwell, we've seen him hit them. Tanaka, even in his highlights, we've seen him hit them. There's scope of doing that, isn't there? There's ways of doing it. Anto here saying, why Gurev and Tanaka? Why always Ampadu? Because he's captain. Well, Anto, you just reminded me, because I was going to go without saying this, but I want to give praise to Ampadu yesterday. I thought he was back to his almost back to his like imperious best yesterday. I thought he was really, really good in terms of the game. That's the Ampadu that I want to see. You know what I mean? That's the kind of Ampadu I want to see back week in, week out. That's what we got last year. And like I said, I've got no worries about Roden. I've got no worries about Ampadu. That will come. And I think it will come once we get into the whole Saturday, Tuesday rhythm again. I think the more games that they play, the better they will be. Keenan here saying, I don't think Peru has it in the gas tank for 90. Okay. And Martin here saying there are games where Gruev should start and some where he shouldn't. Yeah, and that's been the thing for me, and I'll stay consistent with it. Gruev and Ampadu, that's one position for me. Ampadu's your starter, and unless he needs a rest, which it doesn't look like he ever does need a rest, but unless he's suspended, whether you need to rest him for a Tuesday game, then put Gruev in there. But for me, the two DMs, it's overkill, and it does stifle the way we play football. But listen, people, that is it. That is the conversation for today. I'm look happy with the 3 points, but would I like to see a little bit more? Yes, I would like to see the team flowing a bit better. But as long as we're getting the results and the performances stay as dominant as they are, there's not much scope to argue. But I do believe, and I couldn't help thinking it, if that is Sheffield United yesterday, if that's Burnley yesterday, and they've got 10 men Cardiff in that state, I think they beat them 4-5. I do. I think that they absolutely kill them. Whereas we've come out with a 2-0 win. It's cool. Another clean sheet on the board, but I think we could do better. But listen, people, that is the show. Please like the video before you go. Drop your comments on anything discussed today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one, people. Peace out.